welcome to the Proceedings podcast. I'm Bill Hamblet, the editor-in-chief of Proceedings at the U.S. Naval Institute. Good to have you on board, everybody. We're doing something a little different with episodes from the Surface Navy Association's annual symposium this year. We're often at events such as WEST, SNA, Tailhook, Modern Day Marine, the Naval Submarine League, but we've never interviewed people from the defense industry. These big conventions are a place where military and industry meet and interact, so we've decided to ask a number of companies to talk about their businesses. This episode is brought to you by Blue Cross Blue Shield Dental Coverage. I can't help myself from smiling right now. That's because I have Blue Cross Blue Shield FEP Dental. I pay no deductible for in-network services. Preventive care is fully covered, including 3 cleanings a year. Plans start as low as $20 a month. Learn more at bcbsfepdental.com. Welcome to the 5th guest in the industry day here at the Surface Navy Association on the Proceedings podcast. My guest now is Jenny Roberts. She is with SAIC, but she's here representing the Maritime Advocacy Committee at the AUVSI. So AUVSI, what's that acronym stand for?
It's the Association for Uncrewed Vehicles and Systems International.
Okay, so AUVSI uncrewed, so that's undersea uncrewed,
Yep.
Surface uncrewed, and aviation. So this is
ground.
And ground. This is unmanned,
Counter,
uncrewed
unmanned.
systems. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. So how many companies are in the consortium or the association?
Oh, in the association, hundreds. There's about 40 plus in the Maritime Advocacy Committee, which focuses on UUVs and USVs.
Okay. And here at SNA, what are the primary interests for you and your association at SNA this year?
Really, it's unmanned surface vehicles and the enabling capabilities that make those work.
Got it. And what kind of demand signals are you hearing? What's the Navy telling you about the future of unmanned in their vision?
Yeah, I think the Navy is supportive of unmanned. They're looking at kind of a family of unmanned surface vehicles so that they have the right tools for the right jobs. And then there's a lot of focus on how do we advance those key technologies that really are going to make us embrace unmanned systems more quickly. So things like C5I and autonomy and power, right? That sort of thing.
Got it. So from my perspective, it seems like there's a lot of experimentation happening. There's a lot of programs with onesies and twosies so far. Right? At what point and how important is it for the Navy to start buying larger numbers of a system or multiple systems?
Yeah, it's a great question, and you're exactly right. The idea was crawl, walk, run. So, we tried a prototype, or we tried 1 or 2, or maybe even 5 of a type of vehicle. But really, what industry is looking for is for the Navy to embrace buying version 1, recognizing that version 1 is not going to be perfect, and it's not going to be able to do every mission. It's not even going to be able to do all of the mission tasks necessarily. But we need to be able to move from R&D into production. That will allow industry to drive the prices down, flesh out the supply chains, understanding where their vendor base is, as well as giving the fleet the opportunity to work through what exactly are the CONOPs, what are the TTPs, how do they make sure they understand what the vehicles are capable of doing.
And what is the uncrewed industry hearing from Congress?
Well, it's a little bit of a mixed bag, right? There's definitely a lot of support from Congress for unmanned and uncrewed systems. They're concerned that the Navy does not know what the exact end goal is, and that gets repeated quite often. That's concerning both for industry and I suspect some Navy people, because we can't know the perfect end state, right? For example, self-driving cars. We didn't set out to develop self-driving cars. We set out to develop cruise control so that highway driving was not quite so mentally and physically exhausting, right? That then moved into lane assist, parking assist, adaptive cruise control, moving towards self-driving. But we didn't set that out. And so the idea that we would know now what we really want to do with these systems, perfectly in 30 years, it's just not very realistic. And so how do we come to a compromise where we're, being good taxpayer stewards, but also making sure that the fleet is receiving the capabilities that they need to execute distributed maritime operations?
I mean, that's just an amazing thought process, right? Is that you can have a vision, but that vision isn't going to be perfect,
right?
Because you got to try something, you got to fail, maybe fail often and early, try something else, and that requires money, it requires resources, it requires the Navy ability to take it to sea and test it, and then the feedback loop there, right? And so, I can see that this is a big challenge of getting, there's that whole valley of death, idea.
Yeah, and we're out of practice, right? We've had a long time where, we had complete superiority, and now we're moving into a stage where, some technologies we're going to give them a try and they're not going to be perfect. That doesn't mean that the program's a failure. That doesn't even mean necessarily the technology is a failure, but it needs some improvement. And we're out of practice at failing, and so we have to kind of become comfortable once again with, okay, it didn't work exactly as we expected, but we learned A, B, C, and D.
Yeah. How, either on the Capitol Hill side or in the Pentagon side, moving faster, and I've heard this from several other industry reps today, the ability to move faster with requirements, from requirements to procuring the first thing, to experimenting, to feedback loops, all of that stuff against the Chinese, rapidly developing Chinese military. DoD's got to be able to move faster, right?
Yeah.
So from your association's perspective, what are some of the, perhaps roadblocks or stumbling blocks that could be addressed either by DoD or could be addressed by Congress?
So one of the things that we are working heavily with the Navy and Coast Guard for is tell industry the end result you want. Don't tell us how to make it. So don't engineer it. And that's something, another area where we're treating unmanned as if they are our manned platforms from a contracting perspective. And so being able to say, hey, I want it to be able to do these things at the end, go off and do it. And then giving the organization who has been hired time to actually get it done. That's something that I think that we're still kind of working through where, there's too much involvement in let us engineer it together rather than saying you get paid if it meets these requirements and that's what we're doing, right? And so there's some negotiation there because it's just the dynamic between government and industry has changed over time, and so returning that dynamic to one where it's more focused on the capability that's delivered at the end of the day is critical.
Got it. And are the requirements, I guess you just answered that question, maybe not enough clarity or not enough speed with the requirements?
I think we'd really like to see the requirements be performance requirements and warfighting capability requirements, less the specific engineering, you will do these things. And so it's not that the requirements are necessarily wrong, but they can be overly constrictive when there's still a lot of technical discovery required in that area.
How are industrial base
issues, problems affecting the uncrewed or unmanned industry. We've heard a lot about a lack of shipbuilders and pipe fitters and welders and electricians and engineers. How are the members of your association addressing those issues?
Yeah, good question. So for especially commercial applications, everyone has experienced the same kind of things. And so making sure that you understand your supply chain and making sure that you are keeping your vendors working consistently is critical. From the Navy side, from the warfighting perspective, though, we're still in the R&D phases of so much of this, and so I don't think that we know completely where we might run into supply chain issues that are unique to unmanned. Otherwise, it's all kind of the same as what we're seeing across the industrial base.
Okay. And if you had a wish list of one thing to ask either Congress or the Navy for, what would it be for the association or for the industry?
Consistency. We need a demand signal and then give the time to realize the demand. It changing too often, especially if the demand becomes more and more kind of utopic, then that's where there becomes challenges. So, what is the fleet need in the near term, and then give time to deliver that. And then, okay, what's next? We got that. What's the next step? What's the next step? The more we jump to the end goal, the more we seem to stall out from really delivering in a quantity that is valuable to the fleet.
So the process needs to be more maybe iterative.
Yes. So quickly iterative, right? But you need to have iterative 1 is good, but really iterative 100 would be better, right? And we can't do that, of course, for the extra large things, but that's how we get the prices down, and that's how we really burn out any risk from a technological perspective, is being able to do that repeatability.
Fantastic.
Okay.
Well, Jenny, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for stopping by the
Really
booth
appreciate
and
it.
for being on the show. And for the industry perspective is very important. It is 50% of the equation. Right? The Navy wants stuff, but industry's got to build it. And so understanding the challenges on the industry side is very important.
Yeah, absolutely. And for those watching, if you're not a part of the Maritime Advocacy Committee, we would love to have you. So, find us on LinkedIn, find us on the Google, and we'll talk to you soon.
What's your website?
It's AUVSI.org.
AUVSI.org. Okay. Well, thanks very much for being on the show.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Great.
That wraps up another episode of the Proceedings podcast, brought to you by Blue Cross Blue Shield FEP Dental. I can't help myself from smiling right now. That's because I have Blue Cross Blue Shield FEP Dental. I pay no deductible for in-network services. In-network preventive care is fully covered, including 3 cleanings a year, and plans start as low as $20 a month. Learn more at bcbsfepdental.com. If you enjoy the show, like us, subscribe to our channel, tell your friends, become a member at usni.org/join. And until next week, remember, victory begins at the Naval Institute.